Here's what it says. The hair on his head was white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. His feet were like bronze, glowing in a furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. This passage is in the book of Revelation, which is full of symbolic imagery which conveys spiritual truths. The point of this passage is to show how magnificent and glorious his heavenly nature is.
And he dragged and lifted and hauled that cross. And don't you black people ever forget one thing. The man that helped Jesus carry that cross was a black man. And don't ever forget another thing. Jesus belongs to Africa as much as he does to Europe and Asia. He was born in that part of the world that touches Africa and Asia and Europe, and Jesus was not a white man. And he dragged and lifted and hauled that cross. And don't you black people ever forget one thing. The man that helped Jesus carry that cross was a black man. And don't ever forget another thing. Jesus belongs to Africa as much as he does to Europe and Asia. He was born in that part of the world that touches Africa and Asia and Europe, and Jesus was not a white man.
He's the savior of the world. Is Jesus black or is he white? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Past God. Listen, if you got this notification that God was calling, you answer him, say, "Hello, God." Or would you decline his call and block his number? Listen, you may think this is funny, but I have a serious question for you. Are you ignoring God? He loves you and he wants to have a relationship with you. Past God. Listen, if you got this notification that God was calling, you answer him, say, "Hello, God." Or would you decline his call and block his number? Listen, you may think this is funny, but I have a serious question for you. Are you ignoring God? He loves you and he wants to have a relationship with you. Past God. Listen, if you got this notification that God was calling, you answer him, say, "Hello, God." Or would you decline his call and block his number? Listen, you may think this is funny, but I have a serious question for you. Are you ignoring God? He loves you and he wants to have a relationship with you.
Great tragedies has been that in the last 400 years, Europeans and white Americans have created the whole ideology of white supremacy, and they have, in the process, taken the images, sacred images, as well as secular images that are victorious and positive, and made those images white, and by the same token, they have recast black into a negative image. I think that is a very important thing to keep in mind here. We are interested in corrective historiography, setting the record straight.
Protect them from anti-religious destruction. These icons range from the 15th century to the early 20th century. In the paintings, people have come to argue that maybe their faces turn dark over time.
It doesn't matter.
Saying, their faces are black because they were black people. Why didn't their clothes in those paintings also darken with age and turn black? He asks. The true Israelis were black people, just as the ancient Egyptians were. Russians did not change their painting as other European countries did. We kept the paintings and iconography.
Is Jesus black or is he white? It doesn't matter.
Are you ignoring God?
Jesus? I mean, here's a white guy telling you black people that your Messiah is not a long-haired white European guy. Your Messiah is Hebrew, my darker-skinned brothers and sisters. When are you guys going to wake up and become kings and queens?
I want to give all the praises and the honor to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai Bahashem, Racha HaKodash, and double honors to the elder apostles and elder bishops of Great Millstone. Honors and salute to you other elders, even you brethren, you supporters of the truth of this ministry. Shalom to you as well, and shalom to the elect. So anyway, I don't have much to go in on this video because I did videos prior to this, even some years back, where Russia has opened the vaults to show the black, so-called black images. But for whatever reason, this particular video went viral, and now everybody can see what us as Israelites have been saying for many years. So, but I don't want to go there too much. I really want to touch on the Sambo so-called black Christian. They're the worst thing going. Along with white Christianity kept the hope alive of white Jesus. Cesar Borgias, by the way, who had sex with his own sister, whose father had sex with his own daughter. So the father and son tag team on the daughter and sister. So who knows what the father did with him. But this was the face of Jesus, white Jesus. That's who they put up, right? That's who they put up. Now, if color didn't matter, and we're not even going to just say color, if images didn't matter, why would they accept that image? Why would the Most High say, I accept this image of this type of person, right? You know, being honored as my son. If it doesn't matter about the images. And then another thing you have to think about is they would have had to know what the old images was to repaint this new image. So they were very dirty. They were some dirty people to be able to do something like that. Then now they're saying the images became darker over time. Now, mind you, the face of the paint was white, now turned black. But the clothing of the paint that was red or whatever other color still is the same. So we know that doesn't make sense either. All these years we've been following white Jesus, and it was okay. But the Sambos, they never said color didn't matter back then. None of those Christians. That's why Jeremiah 5:28 says they surpass the deeds of the wicked. Anybody who condones this kind of destruction of the Most High Son image, the Messiah, and they say that's okay, they surpass the people who painted it, the wickedness of the people who painted it. Which means we can bring the image back, and these Sambos will try to do whatever they can to whitewash it and bring it back white again, if they could. Now there's white people and preachers, the head, the so-called king of Russia, is saying this is not true. But you got our own people who want to still accept white Jesus and say, well, it doesn't matter anyway. Although all those years we was following it, it did matter because that's what we looked up to. That's crazy. John 8:32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. If I get pulled over and the police looks at me and I give him my license and it's a picture of a man with white hair, white skin, so-called white skin, pale skin, blonde hair and blue eyes with my name on it, somebody's getting arrested. There's something wrong here. There's some form of identity theft. Now, why does the skin, what he looked like, matter? Simply because the images was there, right? You mean to tell me all them times, all those years, hundreds of years, they put this image up and it never really mattered, but you allowed it to matter when we was following it, but now that the true image is coming out, it doesn't matter anymore? Yeah, right. Now, why does it matter? Because it's who we identify with. You broke us. You told us we was nothing. You said we were slaves, which we were. You beat our heritage out of us. And if we getting it back, yeah, this means a lot. That means a lot to know that was us. We're redefining our history. We're bringing back our history. That's why it matters. It's a damn shame, man. Luke 8:17, for nothing is secret that shall not be made manifest, right? Neither anything hid that shall not be known and come abroad. If you got a loved one that they found and they was buried, and you knew that loved one was a so-called black person, but the pictures of this loved one that they're honoring is a person with blonde hair and blue eyes, you would get very angry. Why does images matters? Or as they say, iconography. Why does that matter? Art imitates life, right? Of course it matters. When you see pictures of great people, great leaders of the world, and they whitewash them, because honestly, they know it matters. That's why they took all the images of all the people in the Bible and made them white. That fueled white supremacy. But now that we're coming back into the truth, or to our heritage, now they're going to kind of claim it as another supremacy. So in other words, it was fine when it was white Jesus, but now we're waking up to the so-called black Messiah. We need to just throw that aside. We need to throw the whiteness aside and just let him be whoever he is. Get the hell out of here, man. Get the hell out of here. This is where they want us, man. They want us not to believe in ourselves. And and it's not all about skin color. We know that. Our people look like many different nations. But we know for the Messiah, it matters because it's all about truth. This is why it was recorded in Revelation 1. Let's get that real quick. Revelation 1:15. Let's go there. It says, and his feet was like unto fine brass. Now, understand, these translators, right, even today, when you go to all these other so-called scholars and translators, this was in the 1600s, right? But as you start trying to define and look up words for what these things mean, the translators can't have that. So they're going to say it means glowing brass or something like that. But fine brass, when you look it up, fine brass is very dark, by the way, as if they burned in a furnace. When you go to the Bible of 1382 or 62, it says his feet was like unto lantern in a burnt chimney, right? So what they managed to do is switch it and say, well, it was like a glowing furnace. And in some cases, they'll say hot white. See, your dirty Christianity, right, and white supremacy is over. It's all out. The problem is a lot of our people still not going to care because we're so destroyed. The New Hard English version says his feet like unto fine burnt bronze, right? Let's go to, I think I have another translation. Well, I think I don't. I went through them all. The literal standard version says, and his feet like unto frankincense colored brass. Now, the reason why it says frankincense, because when you go into, now I've done videos on these, this topic, so there's other scriptures. So I'm not going to try to go in and try to convince you that according to the Bible, he's so-called black. These scriptures should tell you that. But when you go in here, it says some metal like gold, if not more precious, right? But anyway, it says burnt copper. And when you go into the burntness, it says a frankincense tree. Google a frankincense tree and you'll have your answer. A frankincense tree. This is all it keeps saying, a frankincense tree. So when you go into his head and his hairs, right? Some translations say different, but it says his head and his hairs were white like wool. Now, the other translation said the hairs on his head was white like wool, right? Now, this one guy would say it's all metaphorical. This is what Vocabulum says. But it says his head and his hairs were white like wool. So it's describing the texture of his hair. It wasn't wool, but likened unto wool, right? As white as snow, his hair wasn't snow, but it was white like snow. His eyes were as a flame of fire. When you read the old translations, it says likened to flame of fire. So we know his eyes wasn't a flame of fire, but likened unto a flame of fire. And his feet likened unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace. So now this makes it so much more clearer, because not only did they say it was like unto fine brass, but as if they burned in the furnace. Now you can look at the pictures, and now you can understand why the Renaissance whitewashed it, and you can see the dark images, the dark ages of what images really look like, right? And his voice was the sound of many waters. No, his voice wasn't many waters, but it was the sound of many waters. But this made it clear, and his feet like unto fine brass, and they didn't cut it right there, but it says as if they burn in the furnace. So it is making it more distinctive at that point, right? Making it more distinctive at that point. So anyway, don't need to make this video long. It's just our people suffer from what they call that's Stockholm. They want to keep them black. Keep them white. That goes back to like with the Queen of Heaven in Jeremiah 44, when they said we had plenty of victuals when we followed the Queen of Heaven. See, they don't understand now, the Lord ain't with them. So when they try to say now that he's so-called black, they're catching hell. So they want him to be white again. Again, it doesn't, why do we find it so important? Because the description was given, right? And another thing I'll say, it was already well known that the Israelites were so-called black anyway. The reason why that description was given, because it was a unique complexion. Well melanated, beautiful complexion. And you can see some of these paintings, how there were some good artists that made that work. So yeah, when you wake up, like this man doesn't leave anything unturned when it comes to what he believes. I'm talking about this system. When you go to court, they want the facts, they want the details, to pronounce judgment. You have to have all the facts. You can't just go up to the court and say, well, is this the guy? Well, it doesn't matter what color he was. He was just whatever he wanted to be. No, it definitely makes a difference, because we identify with the truth, and now we can see that we're something better than what we were. I'm talking about as a nation of people. We know this is for the elect, but as a nation of people, we can see now, right? Yeah, if you can imagine, if you found out the person that went to the moon, the first person was black. Yeah, but if color didn't matter, then why the hell did he keep putting white people up? Color don't matter. Every goddamn commercial you see, back in the days, everybody was white. They made the Egyptians white, put a couple of black people in there. They made the Israelites white. Of course everybody's going to think everybody white. That's where you get your white supremacy. Well, now we're reclaiming it, and it's coming back. We're the true biblical Israelites. And the Messiah was a so-called black man. That's all I have on that. And the other apostles and men of the Bible. They were all so-called black men. Look up Phineas, right? The grandson of Eleazar. I believe the grandson of Eleazar, grandson of Aaron. His name was the mouth of brass. What does the mouth of brass mean? Egyptian Negro. That's all I have on that. Shalom.